Hello and welcome to 1000 PS TV. Today we will find out if the Honda CMX1100 T-Rebel or the Indian Scout Rogue will make your cruiser heart beat faster. Stay tuned, we will tell you everything about the two models. Let's start with the technical data. On one side, we have the Honda CMX1100 T-Rebel, a rebellious creature with its powerful 4-stroke inline 2-cylinder engine that thrills with its 1084 cubic capacity stroke pin offset and fuel injection. On the other side is the Indian Scout Rogue, proud with its 4-stroke V2 cylinder engine and an impressive displacement of 1133 cubic, with 94 horsepower at 8000 revolutions per minute. The Indian Scout Rogue offers comparable performance compared to the Honda, which puts up 87 horsepower at 7000 revolutions per minute. The CMX1100 T-Rebel's maximum torque is 98 Nm at 4750 revolutions per minute, while the Scout Rogue develops similar thrust a bit later with its 97 Nm of torque at 5600 revolutions per minute. In terms of suspension, the CMX1100 T-Rebel features an adjustable telescopic fork with a 43 mm stanchion diameter at the front and an adjustable stereo shock absorber at the rear. Spring travel is 122 mm at the front and 94 mm at the rear. The Scout Rogue, on the other hand, relies on a conventional telescopic fork with a 41 mm standpipe diameter at the front and stereo struts at the rear. While the fork's available travel of 120 mm is comparable to that of the Honda, the rear shocks offer just 51 mm of travel. A single disc with a diameter of 330 mm and 4-piston caliper at the front and a 256 mm disc with single piston caliper at the rear provide deceleration in keeping with the standard on the Honda. The Indian trusts front and rear on a disc with 298 mm diameter each, and the front stops a 2-piston while in the rear a single piston caliper is installed. In terms of tires, the CMX1100 T-Rebel relies on 130/70/18 floppy tires up front and 180/65/16 at the rear, while the Scout Rogue offers 130/60/19 tires up front and a narrow 150/80/16 tire at the rear for ground contact. The Rebel builds more compactly but taller than the Indian, so the Honda's wheelbase is 1520 mm, while the seat height is 700 mm. The Indian Scout Rogue is slightly longer, with a wheel axle to wheel axle length of 1576 mm, but its seat height is only 649 mm. Weight-wise, the Rogue and Rebel are almost on par, with the Indian weighing in at 250 kg, only slightly heavier than the Honda at 248 kg, although it should be mentioned here that we took out the DCT variant for the comparison test. If you take the Rebel 1100T with manual transmission, the weight is reduced to 238 kg. As far as the tank is concerned, the CMX1100 T-Rebel has room for 13.6 liters of fuel, while the Scout Rogue has a tank capacity of 12.5 liters. Now to the driving impressions of the Indian Scout Rogue. The Indian Scout Rogue has a limited lean angle clearance of only 29 degrees, so care should be taken to avoid footpeg and fender contact with the asphalt in tight turns. Particular care should be taken on uneven roads, as the mudguard of the end cap can touch down relatively quickly. I would like to formally apologize for any drag marks on the test bike. The retrofitted Miller exhaust system on our test machine offers a fabulous sound and looks great. Like the original, it is mounted very low, but not quite as long, which is an advantage when parking in the direction of escape, as you don't bump the curb as easily with it. The Scout Rogue's engine is sportier than you would expect in this segment and revs up willingly. In second gear, you can easily reach highway speeds, even though engine vibrations increase noticeably in the upper half of the rev band. An optional tachometer with shift light is available as an accessory. However, it's important to note that the Scout Rogue doesn't feel like it accelerates as vehemently in the lower RPM range as the Honda CMX1100T Rebel. Once you get used to the peculiarities of this particular cruiser, it's great fun to ride. Especially on roads with good pavement and wide curves, riding the Scout Rogue provides true moments of happiness in the saddle. The fork of the Scout Rogue gives no cause for criticism, although it is not adjustable and the basic setup is rather on the softer side. This fits the concept wonderfully and the damping works satisfactorily. On the other hand, you should not expect too much from the stereo shocks in the rear, which are mainly for visual reasons to remind you of earlier hardtail models. The 51mm of travel are quickly exhausted, and after that, shocks are transferred to the discs rather abruptly. Indian offers aftermarket shocks with 25mm more travel in the accessories, which I highly recommend. This improves comfort on bad roads, and at the same time increases ground clearance a bit, allowing higher lean angles. There's nothing to complain about with the Scout Rogue's brakes despite the single front disc, but the Honda's front brake subjectively bites even harder. Experienced cruiser riders know that for maximum braking power it is essential to use the rear brake as well. That's why Indian has installed a 298mm brake disc at the rear that packs a powerful punch in a pinch. The ABS is a legal requirement, although the Scout is also available without ABS in the US, and it regulates satisfactorily when an intervention situation is provoked. In daily use, however, you won't notice any of this. The Indian Scout Rogue is also reduced to the essentials in its other equipment, if one wants to put it positively. There is no traction control to restrict propulsion, so you can effortlessly conjure black lines on the asphalt, no riding modes to distract from the riding experience, and no complicated tablet to puzzle over. The minimalist analog display shows the speed and, if desired, you can also read the RPM in a small LCD display. Next to it is a gear indicator, and that's it. The throttle hand has to be used constantly, as there is no cruise control, which you look for in vain. The only modern concession is a USB port, elegantly hidden on the side of the round instrument. As with all Indian models with the exception of the FTR models, the Scout Rogue relies on a low-maintenance belt drive, so there's no need to lubricate the chain. To make the comparison with the Rebel T perfect, you can upgrade the Scout Rogue with saddlebags from the accessories. The equipment of the Honda Rebel CMX1100T is more than extensive. The Rebel benefits from Honda's modular system. Specifically, it is the adoption of the electronics package from the Africa Twin that enables some interesting features. Thanks to the throttle-by-wire system, the Rebel offers 4 riding modes: Rain, Standard, Sport, User, which can be selected simply by pressing a button on the left handlebar grip. The large TFT touchscreen that adorns Honda's other 1100 models has fittingly not made it into the Rebel. However, the LC display installed instead is no beauty either, and readability does leave something to be desired in direct sunlight. In Sport mode, power delivery is rather aggressive and the DCT upshifts very late, while traction and wheelie control are set at a low level and engine braking is activated at a higher level. In Standard and especially Rain mode, the control is smoother and the safety systems engage earlier. The various settings have clearly noticeable differences in character. In addition, the user mode can be configured individually, and the traction control can also be deactivated. To top it all off, wheelie control has also made it into the Rebel. For more comfort, especially on longer highway trips, cruise control is also on board as standard. Under the seat, the Rebel offers a handy storage compartment that holds 3 liters and houses a USB-C port. The T model comes in bagger style, so it has 2 hard cases left 19 liters, right 16 liters and a Batwing style half fairing, which gives a hint of American West Coast flair to taller people, like me with my 1.87 meters, but does not offer significant wind protection above the belly button. The higher windshield available as an accessory is a remedy. The low saddle contributes to the good maneuverability of the compact Rebel, even if compared to the Indian you feel like you're sitting more on than in the bike. The arms are high and stretched forward in typical cruiser style, while the feet take a bit of getting used to resting on foot pegs placed to the side of the engine, and not particularly grippy. While Zonko was fine with the seating position, with my long legs I would have liked forward-mounted foot pegs, but these are neither standard nor available as accessories. For 2-person operation, the most travel-worthy Rebel can only be recommended to a limited extent. On the one hand, the pillion seat is sparsely dimensioned and the knee angle for the passenger is very acute. On the other hand, the payload of 163 kilograms for 2 is quickly exceeded even without luggage. On the plus side, this position allows a relatively large lean angle clearance compared to the Scout Rogue. Honda speaks of 35 degrees, which makes it possible to take tight corners quickly without scratching noises, so the Rogue can be easily overtaken on the outside. We continue with the driving impressions, the engine and the chassis of the Honda Rebel 1100T. The heart of the CMX1100T is well known to us. The 1084 cubic inline 2-cylinder with crankpin offset has been given 32% more flywheel mass compared to the Africa Twin, and the exhaust system and valve timing have also been changed. These changes pay off. Especially the pressure in the lower and medium RPM range feels powerful, and every meter ridden is fun, whether on the flatlands of the Talnefeld or on the winding country roads of the hilly country between Tulln and Vienna. The response of the 2-cylinder is a bit harsh, regardless of the selected mapping, but there are no annoying vibrations. Thanks to the 270-degree crankpin offset, however, a bassy sound massages the eardrums. It sounds powerful and booms, but not quite as vehemently as the American V2 and the Indian with Miller exhaust. The stationary noise is a tolerable 93 dB. The suspension of the Rebel is inconspicuous. For a cruiser, it offers a good level of comfort, which is all the more true when you ride it in direct comparison with the Indian Scout Rogue. Especially in the rear, the Rebel 1100 dampens worlds better than the US competition. So you don't have to avoid every manhole cover to prevent a slip disc. Fork and shock absorbers are adjustable in preload. At a brisker pace, the bike starts to move and the Honda reminds you to take it easy again. All in all, the comfort-oriented setup is well done. The price of the Scout Rogue in Austria is close to the 20,000 euro mark, and with a few accessories it even exceeds it. The Rebel, on the other hand, comes better equipped and costs less than 15,000 euros in Austria, even in the DCT variant we tested. Prices in your country and offers in your area of Indian Scout Rogue and Honda CMX1100 Rebel T can be found as always at the 1000 PS marketplace. Conclusion on the Indian Scout Rogue and Honda CMX1100T. The Rebel from Japan mixes up the cruiser landscape properly and offers a lot of bike with rich equipment at a relatively low price. All in all, it's certainly good for the segment that Honda is returning to the cruiser business. After all, competition is good for business. For all those for whom a cruiser doesn't have to come from the USA and who are perhaps not too tall, the Rebel 1100T is a great alternative. If you want to make a stylish impression, have the necessary small change and are looking for an unfiltered US V2 that has sporty genes and places little value on comfort and lean angle clearance, you can confidently reach for the Indian Scout Rogue. Thank you for watching this video. Which one would you put in your garage? I would like to ask you one more question. Does a cruiser or chopper have to be from America, or can it also be an alternative from Japan? Leave us a like and subscribe to our channel, then you will not miss any more tests. See you soon.